Hello and welcome to another week's episode of OakieVision. My name is Ryan Barnett, and my guest this week is head coach of the Menlo College men's and women's cross country and track and field teams, Coach David Crynes. Thanks for joining me, Coach.
Glad to be here. Glad to be connecting and speaking to the Menlo Nation.
Absolutely. Well, the Menlo Nation is excited to hear from you, Coach. Your team, the second youngest Menlo College athletic program out there, only trailing Menlo College men's volleyball in fewer seasons competed. And yet, just like every other team here at Menlo College, both of your teams, in fact, all four, cross country and track and field on both the men's and women's side, seem to be right in the mix every year for a GSAC title. To what do you attribute all this success to such a young program?
Well, I would attribute it to buy-in on the athlete's part. We sell a vision, me and my coaching staff, we sell a vision to the young people, and they have to buy in. And once they buy into what we're trying to do, and that includes the end game as well as the process, that's when things pretty special start to happen. We were heading into this season with pretty high expectations. We thought our men would be ranked number 1 or 2 in the conference, and women would be right there, probably second or third, both ranked nationally for the first time ever in the preseason polls. And so if you look back over my last couple of years at Menlo, it's young people that bought into the vision that we were selling. And like I said, it's the end product, which is the championships and the placings, but to get there, they have to buy into the process, and they've done an excellent job buying into what we've asked them to do.
Well, that's awesome to hear, Coach. And I'm sure that goes back into the type of student athletes that you're recruiting and bringing into Menlo. I'm sure they're grateful to get their opportunity to compete at the collegiate level and give it right back to you to buy in to, your program goals and, your program methods. Now, a couple of your student athletes, of course, you return a majority of your student athletes, but you do graduate 2 from the men's side, Elijah Redding Moment and Noble Bhutan. Both, great student athletes, but also all around great guys. I had the honor to get to know them starting in their freshman year at Menlo. Actually, funny enough, I was their resident assistant back my sophomore year, their freshman year, and then, working with them as a peer and then as their sports information director. These guys seem to give 110% in everything they did. Why don't you talk a little bit about what these guys brought day in, day out to your program and what will be missed most about them?
So both outstanding young men, totally different athletes. Noble, of course, is a distance runner, had qualified for the national championship in the marathon last spring before it was canceled. And then, of course, Elijah is a jumper, triple jump, long jump specialty. But the thing that they brought to us together was just a maturity. As you mentioned, we're such a young program, and we have so many young athletes. To have at least a couple of seniors helped really steady the ship the first couple of years at Menlo and provide us with maturity. Of course, Noble is just, he's academically been recognized for his excellence. He's, socially, he was the glue for cross country and track the last 2 years. And, as a coach, you're lucky to have a glue guy that brings everybody together. Sort of an assistant coach's role even. We go to him, ask him questions, let him make some decisions. So just an outstanding young man that's doing great things. And of course, Elijah, who you had worked with, student ambassador and helped with admissions and just personality, help people feel at ease as they came into our program. So we're very appreciative of both young men's contributions.
Absolutely. And I think, based off of what your younger athletes got to experience being around them, that I'm sure that helps develop, your younger athletes' leadership styles as well as they work their way into becoming upperclassmen. Let's talk a little bit about this season. Of course, everything's still a little bit in flux, but hopefully assuming that we will see some semblance of both cross country and track and field this year. First, let's focus on the women's side. You don't graduate a single athlete from last year, so returning a lot of top talent. namely Naomi Lagat, of course, national qualifier for cross country, and then 2 cross country all conference members in Rosalina Castro and Hannah Dumaine. Now, your team finished 3rd overall in the GSAC in cross country last year, and they were really hitting their stride in during the indoor track and field season as well. We had a small sample size of outdoor, but mostly indoor track and field. Everyone really hitting their stride. On top of that, you bring in a fantastic recruit in the form of Gina Lozcano, who's coming from Fresno City College. So what are you expecting from this team this year with that sort of momentum from last season?
Well, when I first arrived at Menlo, we had 1 female on the team, so we didn't even have a team. And then we just sort of begged and clawed and fought to get women to come on campus. And here we are, year 3, and we've got a full squad. We're in double digits. And we were not included in the GSAC preseason rankings because we're not participating, but I really think we would have been second in those. And then the other GSAC schools had their first meet this last week, and looking at the results and where our women have been performing in training, I think we would have finished second behind the Masters this past week, which probably would have got these women a top 25 ranking, and we'd be looking at going to nationals as a team. You mentioned some great leaders on the team. We've also got Beverline Kipchunga and Mercy Chibet, who came last January, but they're considered freshmen for cross country. So we have a really solid core of about 7 women that are all going to contribute to our team scoring. So it's good to have depth. Once you've got that depth, it just pushes everything forward. There's accountability, there's motivation, and of course there's a whole a team culture, a team feeling that we didn't have before. So again, the women have bought in, and they've done an excellent job training. High hopes for cross country when we get a run.
Absolutely, and that's exciting to hear, Coach. I got a chance to check out just the results, and then of course, following the results, the first top 25 rankings of the year for both men's and women's cross country, and hearing that Menlo would have been right in the mix there with Vanguard and the Masters University, who are both either receiving votes or ranked in the top 25. That's exciting to hear. And like I said, you're a young team too, so big things to come, and we'll be looking forward to that. Now, switching over to the men's side, of course, just like the women's side, a huge season. We talked about the graduation of Elijah and Noble, but returning quite a few key runners. Jacob Kipiego, of course, national qualifier for cross country, and then 4 returning national qualifiers for track and field. Benjamin Rono, Logan Pine, Connor Dimitri, and Connor Oldham. Once again, also a great recruiting class, 3 great, middle distance guys who are also going to contribute on the cross country front in the forms of Pearson Lamborn, Shane Fernando, and Josh Kinzon. So all sorts of momentum around that program too. So really sort of the same question, what are we expecting to see out of the men's team as well as they continue their upward trend?
This one's hard because the men are about a year ahead of where the women are. So like I said, I think men would have gone into the GSAC preseason rankings 1 or 2, maybe tied with Masters. Masters has so much tradition. They get the nod a lot of times. But looking at their results from last weekend, we think our number 7 runner would have come in before their number 4. And I think Masters was, 8th or 9th in the national rankings this week. And, in our wildest dreams, we were talking to our guys about having a top 10 season this year. But it looks like really we would have been a top 10, top 15 team. And just getting to nationals for that first time, anything can happen. So our number 1 goal was to win conference outright and get an automatic berth to the national meet. And this group of guys would have done it for sure. So we're about 10 deep. We're a little bit deeper on the men's side than the women's side. We have guys, the first year we were pretty thin. And one guy goes down, and all of a sudden we're taking a big hit. We've got about 10 guys right now that can contribute. So if someone gets a nagging injury or something, it's 2020, who knows what happens.
Of course.
We've got somebody ready to step right in. So we've got depth, which is huge for the men. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that's so underrated in both cross country and track and field is that depth. Everyone considers, your top runners, as long as you've got 5, 6 solid core guys, you're fine. But having that depth, that if someone does come down, such a heavy sport on the lower body, whether it's shin injuries, knee injuries, having that ability to just have someone interchangeable ready to go, that's huge. Now I do have to ask one last question when it comes down to, the training front. There's been, of course, an extended off season for so many sports, but cross country, track and field, really a sport that your student athletes are able to continue to train and push themselves at a top level while still social distancing and staying safe. So how has training been going in this extended off season for your team, and how have you been monitoring that? Has it been sort of an extensive setting goals, keeping training logs, or more a hands-off laissez-faire, trusting your athletes to keep themselves in tip-top shape, or somewhere in between even?
Well, it's a little bit of all of that, but as a coach, if I've done my job motivating my athletes, they're going to do the work. So, we haven't competed. I think our last track meet was early March. Things got, we already had 4 qualifiers, and track had just started, 4 qualifiers for the national meet. So we were super excited about the spring. We set a goal for some of our guys. Hey, let's knock out a 100-mile training week. And we had 4 or 5 guys go out and do that.
Wow.
Right around when the national meet would have been. So that's pretty huge. We took a little bit of time off, but our training has been the best ever. As you said, our guys can train, and women can train alone at home. So I send out workouts every Monday morning for the whole week. They report in on Sunday how their week went, their mileage, their long runs. They give me feedback on their speed workouts. Our men, our top men now are running about 70 miles a week, and that's on 6 days. So that's almost an 80-mile-a-week average. Our women, we're controlling a little bit more, so they're in the 40s and 50s miles per week. But that's exactly the mileage we would be doing if we were on campus at Menlo. So our kids, almost to a runner, have been outstanding in their commitment, texting me, communicating. Of course, we have Zoom meetings just like everybody else, but our training has been phenomenal. In fact, right now, I got a text this morning. There's 5 or 6 of them that are headed to Flagstaff together, and they're gonna train at altitude for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
That includes Noble, who is gonna, talking about his senior leadership. He's gonna come back and run with some of the guys. So they're gonna run at altitude for a couple of weeks. Tristan Guerrero has just wrapped up a month in Boulder, Colorado, running at altitude. So, maybe the irony of 2020 is we've been able to take advantage of it. We've upped our mileage. Our guys have gone off to some altitude training. So, doggone it, we're ready to race when someone says we can race. So our training's been outstanding. To answer your question, our wrinkle is this: our sport is the only one where the GSAC is still competing right now. So if they have that conference meet in November, then we've got to figure out another way how to get to national meets. So, we're relying on the athletic director, the GSAC commissioner, and the people at the NAI national headquarters to help us out there and make sure we still have an avenue to get the national championship. They reset our national championship meet for April 9th, which is right in the middle of indoor track and outdoor track. So it's going to be a busy spring.
Oh yeah, but it seems like your student athletes, this elite training, I mean, seeing them go into train in altitude, that, it seems like they'll be ready to go no matter how busy this spring is, even if we have to, compress, track, cross country all into one season and get them ready to train for all 3 indoor, outdoor, and cross country national championships because, it seems like, once again, as you alluded to earlier in the interview, they've bought into this mindset of, this great work ethic. So something we're really excited to see. And, that goes back to you and your coaching staff and bringing in these kids that are ready to buy into that process.
That's exactly it. We preach a mastery mindset. We want them to embrace the process. If they don't love running, it's going to be hard for them. So the first thing we teach is a love of running. And we try to model that ourselves as coaches. But just to get them to buy into that lifestyle, and they're obviously doing it the way they're, the way they've carried out their training during this fall and these crazy times where nobody knows. Very few answers right now.
Of course. But, we are keeping a positive mindset here, hoping to see your team in action once we roll around to the new year. Coach, I want to thank you for your time, for joining us this week on OakieVision.
I appreciate it. Good to reconnect.
Absolutely. And fans, stay tuned. We'll have another interview for you next week. But thanks for tuning into this week's episode, and we hope you have a great week. Go Oaks.